Former Vice President Kamala Harris is set to lose her Secret Service protection, a move sparking political debate. A spokesperson for Harris confirmed to Fox News that President Donald Trump has revoked her security detail. The spokesperson added that no reason was provided for the sudden withdrawal. Traditionally, vice presidents receive Secret Service protection for 6 months after leaving office. But before departing the White House, then-President Joe Biden signed an executive memorandum extending Harris protection for an additional year. On Thursday, August 28th, U.S. President Trump rescinded that order, meaning Harris's security officially ends on September 1st. According to a source, the Secret Service was notified only yesterday. The timing is notable. Harris is preparing to launch a 15-city book tour later this month to promote her memoir, 107 Days, a reflection on her brief presidential run. The tour begins in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, with crowds expected at each stop. Meanwhile, the Secret Service reiterates that former presidents receive lifetime protection, while vice presidents typically do not unless exceptions are granted. In a statement, Senior Advisor Kirsten Allen said Harris is grateful to the Secret Service for their professionalism, dedication, and unwavering commitment to safety. On May 1st, Kamala Harris, in her first major address since conceding the 2024 election, sharply criticized President Trump's policies, accusing him of triggering an economic crisis with reckless tariffs. Speaking at an Emerge America gala, she highlighted the erosion of American ideals and loss of trust in institutions under Trump's leadership.
We all know President Trump and his administration and their allies are counting on the notion that fear can be contagious. They are counting on the notion that if they make some people afraid, it will have a chilling effect on others. But what they're overlooking, what they have overlooked, is that fear is not the only thing that's contagious. Courage is contagious. The courage of Americans who are banding together in the face of the greatest man-made economic crisis in modern presidential history. Americans across the political spectrum who are declaring that the president's reckless tariffs hurt workers and families by raising the cost of everyday essentials, devastate the retirement accounts that people spent a lifetime paying into, and paralyze American businesses, large and small, forcing them to lay off people, to stop hiring or pause investment decisions. The courage of Americans we are seeing who are rallying at Social Security offices to protect their hard-earned benefits. Of Americans who are speaking out to say, it is not okay to violate court orders. Not okay. Saying it is not okay to detain and disappear American citizens or anyone without due process. The courage of judges to uphold the rule of law in the face of those who would jail them. Of universities that are defying unconstitutional demands that threaten the pursuit of truth and academic independence. And I will tell you, the courage of all these Americans inspires me. And I have been inspired by the movements like the one in Wisconsin that put Susan Crawford on the Supreme Court. by the State of the People Power Tour that is aiming to ignite a grassroots movement to lift up voices and advance freedom and justice, and by leaders across the spectrum, including congressional leaders like Cory Booker, Chris Van Hollen, Chris Murphy, Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. All who, in different ways, have been speaking with moral clarity about this moment. So here's one of the other things I wanted to talk about tonight and to highlight. So look, some people are describing what's been happening in recent months as absolute chaos. And of course, I understand why. And it's certainly true of those tariffs. Tariffs that, as I predicted, are clearly inviting a recession. But friends, please let us not be duped into thinking everything is chaos. I know it may feel that way, but understand what we are in fact witnessing is a high-velocity event where a vessel is being used for the swift implementation of an agenda that has been decades in the making. An agenda to slash public education. An agenda to shrink government and then privatize its services. All while giving tax breaks to the wealthiest among us. By the way, an agenda that is not lowering costs, not making life more affordable, and not what they promised. It's an agenda, a narrow, self-serving vision of America, where they punish truth tellers, favor loyalists, cash in on their power, and leave everyone to fend for themselves, all while abandoning allies and retreating from the world. And folks, what we are experiencing right now is exactly what they envisioned for America. Right now, we are living in their vision for America. But this is not a vision that Americans want. We are living in a moment when the checks and balances upon which we have historically relied have begun to buckle.